today's video, I talk about how to stay lean while cutting. I do some Tom Haviland style workouts. I think you guys will really enjoy seeing that. There's timestamps for all of this in the bottom, so feel free to skip ahead. And I'll have a lot of the key moments timestamps. So if you guys want to skip ahead and all that's possible. I ended with some posing. Gonna sit in the sauna now. This is just the end of my posing, which is I play around with some lights and stuff, and you'll get to see that. But yeah, if you like the video, and keep watching. Everything I want at the gym is taken yet again, and so I have to resort to being creative and just making the most of what's available. I started off walking backwards for 30 minutes on the self-propelled treadmill, and now I'm doing the sled. But while I was doing the sled, one of the things I was thinking about was it seems like at least a few people in the gym have asked me how I stay lean and big all at once. And I think the main problem comes from separating the two, as if the both cannot coexist. What I mean by that is there's either a bulking phase or a cutting phase. It seems like the way things are presented is that you can't get lean without losing muscle, and you can't gain muscle without gaining fat. And in my opinion, that's not true. Because I've never really gone through a major gaining phase, and while I have been through a few drastic cuts, it hasn't in any way taken away from future muscle growth. In the sense, my body seemed to adapt with different changes. What I mean by that is, so when I was doing a lot of cardio, my body slimmed down. And by cardio, I mean running a lot. But at the same time, one of the side effects of running a lot was that I couldn't lift as much weight at the gym. So during my previous cutting experiences, it was true that I lost quite a bit of muscle while cutting weight. But some of the key things to note there is that while there was an increase in cardio, there was also a decrease in the amount of heavy stimulus that was being given to the body. So my solution to that this time around has been doing the sled. On the sled, if all your focus is on going back and forth, you can perform cardio while increasing load. So with most other movements that are cardiovascular, the resistance are applied like on a stairmaster or while running. There is no component of resistance, which essentially means like your body is going, that the adaptation mechanism of your body is going to try and shed a lot of weight in order to make it more efficient at performing things that require the body to move for a long time in a steady state, like running or stairmaster or whatever it might be. But if you make your cardio more resistance based, like with a sled, you're triggering the cardiovascular system, but your body still has to maintain hypertrophy and bone density and all of those other adaptations that come from resistance training in order to still be capable of moving the sled. So if your goal is to stay lean while cutting, my recommendation is to find a sled, and if you can't find a sled, try to make up some sort of cardio that involves resistance training. So for example, strongman style activities could be a good candidate for that. Like farmer carries for multiple sets of 100 yards or something. The goal is to make your cardio a kind of resistance training, or still have a resistance training component to it. My reason for doing the sled is it's the best bang for your buck. When you're doing the reverse sled, you're getting a lot of blood flowing into the knees, a lot of quad activation, and I mean, I've been doing this for 3 years now, and at least 5 to 6 times a week. And over time, you get the ability to just keep going and loading it up. At some point, you get comfortable with probably doing, I don't know, let's say 200, 300 pounds on the sled for 30 minutes straight, back and forth. I mean, you'll get such good cardio out of that, but there is no signaling mechanism in your body that would trigger atrophy. Because, or I don't know about no, but if there is any muscle loss, it'll be minimal, because your body is going to detect that your body is not just doing cardio, but it has to move resistance at the same time, and so it can't perform things like atrophy and loss of bone density, because it still has to perform resistance. I think I'm going around in circles, but yeah, hope you get that. I've recently been following this guy, Tom Haviland, and he seems to do these kind of movements where like he's dragging something but also carrying something in one hand. So I decided to do a farmer carry with the right hand and do the sled, backward sled. And then put the kettlebell on the sled. Push the sled back. Switch hands. You see, that movement requires a lot of muscular strength. There's nothing about it that is going to tell your body to start losing muscle. But on top of that, you're so cardiovascularly taxed that you are going to start tapping into your fat reserves. So yeah, that's kind of my answer, is strongman style training. Every once in a while, a couple of times a week, to get your heart rate going, but in a mechanism where you're applying resistance still. Another thing I'm noticing is, because each time I place the kettlebell on one side of the sled, there's a slight offset of weight on one side, and there's certain adaptations that happens when that offset exists too. I see why Tom Haviland does it. This absolutely sucks. Yeah, that's it for all the crazy shit. Trying to do some mobility stuff. I always like to start off my workouts with something slow, then go into something that's more mobility based. Or no, start with something that's slow, then go for something that's really intense, and then finish off with something slow, like mobility stuff. So today it was backwards walking was my foreplay. The sled was the hardcore main session, and now it's time for some cuddles to tell my body, hey, it's okay. I still love you. I'm not going anywhere. But for my first mobility exercise, what I'm doing is, so if you have like these row machines or whatever, I'm using the side of it to hold my body in place as a stationary point on which I can lean and stretch out my outer serratus. I don't know if there's a name for this exercise, but essentially what I'm doing is I pull it here. This is the starting position. Then I rotate my wrist inwards so the palms start facing out. And then as that happens, I'm looking away and letting go and relaxing the back, which forces the back to stretch. And since you're looking away, it also forces the serratus to stretch. It forces your rear delts to stretch. And then you slowly try to look back at the weight and then bring it back towards you. And I believe this really helps shoulder rotation, and that also helps give full activation to the lats. This is one mobility exercise that hasn't appeared in other videos yet, so new content. But yeah, try this out. So again, you're using the pad to keep yourself stationary. Start here, start looking away, palms rotate. Row. At this point, you'll feel a stretch right over here, and then you can try to exaggerate it by like pushing against the pad and looking the other way. And then doing the glute stretch as usual. This is probably the 5th or 6th straight day I'm doing this movement. But if there is something that you feel is genuinely tight in your body, then don't be hesitant to hit it multiple times within reason. Like, definitely don't like overstress it. Like, don't actually hurt it, but like most people sit a lot, and the odds are that just doing 2 to 3 hours or just a few sessions. So essentially, I'm sitting and laying around or whatever for 50 to 60% of the day. And I'm doing this, specifically this movement, for about maybe 20 minutes each time, or 20 to 30 minutes each time. And so, like, let's say over the past 5 days, if it was 20 minutes each, that's around 100 minutes, which is an hour and 40 minutes. So in the past 5 days, I've only spent an hour and 40 minutes in this position. So what I've noticed is the mobility comes with consistency of performing these movements. If you don't get the mobility gains with what you're seeing right now, like, I'm probably further ahead than someone who has never done this, but there's probably a bunch of people who are further ahead of me. But the point is, you need to keep doing these, and you need to stay consistent, because the relative amount of time that you're spending in these stretched positions compared to how often you're sitting is still far lesser than, or the amount of time you're spending like in a sedentary position is still far greater than what you're spending in these stretched positions. And so what I'm noticing is I have to stay very consistent and very cognizant of how my body is throughout the day, and I also have to spend quite a bit of time on mobility stuff to see lasting change, and also regular gains, because if you're sedentary most of the time, which is what the case is for most people, don't expect to become super limber by just doing this for like 20 minutes one time a week or twice a week. Will you get better? Yes, you will get better. And so you should still do it even if it's twice per week. But be very aware of the fact that you are still sedentary most of the time, and you're not really in the stretched position. I'm going to do a couple more sets of this and then do regular cable Goodmornings, which is more for the hamstrings or overall hamstrings and doesn't hit the IT band glute area as much. But yeah, I'll record that next. No mobility stretch, or out of all the exercises that I do for mobility, nothing seems to put it quite together like a cable Goodmorning. It's like so excruciatingly good. Like right now, so I'm just trying to relax my traps, get everything in position. My legs are spread wide apart. Pause. And then I'm pointing my toes outside and kind of trying to press my heels into the floor and rotate my ankles out, if that makes sense. And now I'm like slowly relaxing and letting the cable pull me forward, and then I just feel like this radiating ecstasy through my calves and quads and hamstrings and into my lower back, into my spine, into the scapula, the delts, the trap. Holy shit. And then come back. There's nothing that seems to quite open up the body all the way through like this one. And I think a lot of my mobility gains can be attested to being able to do this exercise in the or going heavier at this. So getting stronger at this, in my opinion, has led to the most overall mobility gains, second to the sled. So I think the sled had to come first, and then also pairing that along with this has seemed to be the most, like the two key contributors to my overall mobility on my lower body. And that doesn't mean exclude the other work, but as far as what's been working for me or what I feel like has been translating into most noticeable gains in the mobility department has been the cable Goodmornings and the backward sled and forward sled. If you don't do this exercise, do it. That was my second set. I'll probably do 2 more. And then we'll see what happens after that. Creates more of a aura. I don't know how much of the audio, all of that was getting picked up. But anyway, I'm doing some posing. I didn't have my hat on, so I don't know how much video was getting, or audio was, or how clear the audio was getting recorded. That being said, I'm really liking this light. It's kind of silly.